everyone and welcome back. It's Gina from orchidandopal.com, and today I am back with a tutorial from the Sun-Kissed Seashells collection that I curated with Eureka Crystal Beads. And if you'd like to get your hands on that collection, if you haven't already, I have the link for it right down below the video, where I also have the list of everything you'll need to make a pair of these earrings, and links to each of these items, which you can pick up separately outside of the collection, and you can also have fun changing up the colors if you want to. I'll demonstrate how you can make these and finish them with some post earring findings, but also keep in mind that you can definitely use whatever type of earring finding you'd like and attach those accordingly. To briefly run down what we'll be using today, materials include 11/0 seed beads and Delica beads, as well as some 15/0 round seed beads. You'll need an 8mm Crystal Chaton, some mini GemDuos, and some 1x4mm Czech glass ring beads. And here's a look at the back of this earring. You can see that post finding is sewn in, and I also used a little dab of glue. So consider using some E6000 or other jewelry glue that will hold that post earring finding in place if you're using one of those. So we're going to start by making that larger bottom component first, and then I'll show you how to finish off the top portion, which you can then watch one more time and make yourself the second earring to finish off your pair. For your beading needle, I would recommend a size 11 or 12 because we will be going through some tiny 15/0s multiple times. And for my thread today, I'll be using the 6-pound 0.006-inch diameter Fireline, and you can use anything that you like to use that is similar to that. So at this point, you can go ahead and gather up your materials, thread your beading needle with a comfortable length of thread, and we will jump into this tutorial. To begin, you can pick up one ring bead and then pick up one GemDuo and go up through the left-hand side. So if you have yours with the top facing up, go through the hole that is on the left, and you can pull these down and leave yourself about a 5 to 6 inch tail that you'll be weaving back in a little bit. And we'll be securing this in our next step. So I'm not using a stop bead, but you're more than welcome to if you would like to. Next, pick up 3 15/0s and then return down through the same mini GemDuo bead, but go through that open hole. And holding those beads in place, you can just pull your thread so those seed beads will wrap around the top of that GemDuo. Now just repeat this 5 more times. So again, pick up a ring bead, pick up a mini GemDuo through the left-hand side, and then pick up 3 15/0s. Pull them down, and then holding that in place, sew down through the open hole of that same GemDuo bead that you're currently coming out of, and just slide all that together. And it's perfectly normal. They're going to start to sit like this. Some may be upside down, but when we start to form these into a ring, they'll all start to get situated in the same direction. So don't worry about that as we're doing this. Just keep going, and now we need to do this 4 more times. So I got my ring bead and the left side of the GemDuo and 3 15/0s. We'll go down through this GemDuo again and pull it all together. And now we just need to do that 3 more times. All right, so this is what we have right now, and if you just start to turn all these so that they're going in the same direction, the GemDuos that is, you'll see how they start to kind of come together in a circle. And we're going to join these together. My working thread is coming out of this GemDuo here, and I'm going to go up through that first ring bead and up through that next GemDuo bead. I'm just going to turn this around a little bit. Holding that in place, I'm pulling this together. And it should be able to sit loosely just like that. So that is the front of the bottom portion of our earring. And right now I'm going to hold all this together with my thumb and my forefinger. And I'm just going to make a half hitch knot right here going underneath the thread bridge right before the 15-0s. That's just going to tack down our work at this point loosely as we go and until we sew back in that tail thread. So next what you want to do is continue sewing through the next 3 15-0s. And then sew down through the GemDuo bead. And now you're coming out right before the next ring bead. At this point, pick up 3 15-0s. Skip that next ring bead and then go up through the left-hand side of the next GemDuo. And you're going to repeat that all the way around. So now we're going to go through our next 3 15-0s just like we did before. Also sew down through that mini GemDuo. And now we're in position to pick up another 3 15-0 seed beads. So get those, skip the next ring bead, and sew up through the left-hand hole of the next GemDuo that you get to in the round. All right, so here's what we have so far, and at this point I'm going to put a needle on my tail thread and weave that around the piece a little bit and make a couple of strategically placed half-hitch knots probably next to the ring beads, hiding those along the way, and I'll trim that off before we continue on. That way I don't have two threads hanging out while I'm showing you how to make these earrings. So I will be right back. All right, so now with my thread, my working thread coming out right here before those 3 seed beads, I'm going to just continue on through those next 3 15-0s and also sew down through the next GemDuo and the next 2 15-0s that are in the very center. So I've gone through one, go through one more. And we're going to do one more thing right in the center, and that is to add 1 15-0 in between the central 15-0s that are already in place all the way around. So I picked one up, I'm going through the second 15-0 in that next section, just that one, and then pick up another 15-0, and again sew through the next central 15-0 in the next section of 3, and repeat that all the way around. And when you get to your last one, you'll go through that second seed bead once again. And instead of tightening that up really tight right now, we're just going to leave it as is. And once we get the crystal in place, we can always go back and tighten that up over the top of the crystal. But for now, what we want to do is go through the next few seed beads and go up through, following your thread path, the mini GemDuo. Then we'll go through these. Then we'll continue to follow the beads through the thread path. And we're going to be making our way out of one of the ring beads, just going a little bit further over. We're going to actually want our needle placed on the back. So I'm flipping this over and I'm going to go through the next ring bead. So now we can start laying the groundwork for the back of our piece that will cover up the back of that crystal and hold it in place. Coming out of this ring bead right here, I've also grabbed my 11-0 seed beads. We're going to pick up 3 of those and then sew directly through the next ring bead. And do that all the way around. Once again, 3 seed beads, and sew through the next ring bead only. And we're at our last section. And this time we'll go through the ring bead and also we'll sew through those next 3 11-0 seed beads. And pull this tight as you go. And now what we're going to do is go around and just sew through the 11-0s. So skip the ring bead this time, sew through the next 3 11-0s, and do that all the way around. And just go past where you started a little bit so you can start to tighten that up. And if you want, you can go ahead and insert your crystal right in the center there, face down, and hold that in place while you pull your thread a little bit tighter. And you can also go around those 11-0s one more time to tighten those up around the crystal now that it is in place. And now you can see it's pretty snug around the back, but we've still got some work to do to cover that up and also make sure it stays in place. And I'm coming out of this group of 3 11-0s, and we're going to now pick up 2 11-0s, and I'm going to sew back through the same 3 that I just came out of. And they're just going to be hanging out right there. We're going to gather them up in the next step, but at this point we're just getting them in place. So now we can sew through the next 3 11-0s and do the same thing. Pick up 2 and sew back through the same 3 11-0s. And now on to the next one. And our last one, and so once again, grab our 2 and go through those 3 right below. All right, now we're going to be going in the other direction, heading through those 2 11-0s that we had just put in place, and you're going to be pulling these toward the center of the back of that crystal, and we're just going to be sewing through those groups of 2. So I'm sewing through the next 2, and you can see how it starts to pull that all together back there, and then pick up those next 2 and do that all the way around. Like that, and tighten it up. And I'm going to head through the next 2 as well. And then we're going to do the same thing we just did, except we're going to pick up just 1 of our 11-0s and sew back through those same 2 seed beads. Then sew through the next 2. Pick up 1 seed bead and sew through the same 2 again, and do that all the way around. And on my last one, picking up 1 seed bead, go back through those 2, and then this time I'm going to head up through that single seed bead and we'll go in the other direction. At this point, picking up or grabbing all those single seed beads we just added and gathering them up towards the back. And go a little bit past where you started. And once you start pulling that tight, you should have something like this. So go around that very center loop that we just sewed through at least 1 or 2 more times and pull it tight as you go. And once you're happy with that, we can just follow the thread path weaving back and forth through the beads back here. And we want to be coming out one of our ring beads to continue on with the next part. So I'm going to go through this ring bead here and flip my work over. And your crystal should be centered just like that. And we're just going to do a little bit more work right around the edges. And I've pulled out my Delicas now, and I have them on this little square of turquoise fabric because I figured it'd be easier to see those as I am picking them up since they blend right into that light colored mat. And right now, coming out of this ring bead here, we're going to be picking up a Delica. And then we'll sew through the next 3 15-ohs. I also want to mention that I'm using dark colored thread because of the tutorial, but you may want to use some lighter colored thread or something that blends in with these beads a little bit more, although this black Fireline is not too bad with these. And then once we get to the other side of those 3 15-ohs, we'll pick up another Delica and sew through the next ring bead. And pull. So we're just adding a Delica around each of those groups of 3 15-oh seed beads to finish off the edges of this piece. So keep going, doing the same thing all the way around, picking up a Delica, and then sewing through those next 3 15-ohs. Pick up a Delica and sew through the next ring bead. And pop that into place and pull tight. And our last one, and then through that ring bead again and pull tight. So now this larger component is done, and also you can feel free to use this in other ways too. These beaded components could be made in amounts of more than just 2. You can connect them together in a sort of beaded chain for a necklace perhaps, or use them in a bracelet, although they do stick out just a little bit back there. But have fun connecting these in different ways. Like I said, I'll just show you how to finish this up with a post earring finding for something different. And to get started with that, we're going to sew through the next Delica and the next 2 15-ohs. And coming out of that 15-oh, I'm now going to pick up 3 11-ohs and sew back through that same 15-oh again. And then we'll go up through the next 2 11-ohs over to the left. So we're coming out of the one on the end. And since I'm coming out of the left-hand side of this seed bead on the end, I'm going to go up through the left-hand side of a mini GemDuo and pull that down. It's gonna sit just like that. And we're also going to connect 2 more mini GemDuos to that one. The next of which will sit kind of like that. So also go up through the left-hand hole of another mini GemDuo. Then you can return through the open hole of the same one and pull all that together. Then sew through the left-hand hole of a third GemDuo and pull that towards your work. And then return down through the open hole of that one and also sew through the open hole of the first one. So that brings all those together, forming this little arrangement, fitting together like a puzzle. And now just go through that 11-0 once again. That's at the bottom of that group. And at this point, we're going to bring in some more 15-0s. Go ahead and pick one up and then sew up through the next 2 GemDuos. Pick up 4 more 15-0s. And sew down through the next hole of the same GemDuo. Then sew through the next GemDuo and pick up another 4 15-0s. And sew down through the next 2 GemDuos. To match that other side, we'll pick up 1 more 15-0 and sew once again through the 11-0. And then sew through the next 15-0 as well. And here we'll be adding in some more beads. We're going to be picking up 4 new 15-0s. And then we want to sew through the 4 that are already in place on the side. 2 more there. Then pick up 3 15-0s. And sew through the next 4 that are already in place. We're just wrapping these 15-0s right around these GemDuo beads. And at this point, we're going to pick up 4 more 15-0s and sew through the 15-0, the 11-0, and all these 15-0s again, sewing around them again to straighten them all out and secure them in place. So there's a look at our piece now, and we can flip this over. And what you want to do if you're using a post earring finding is you're going to dab a little bit of glue on that post and place it so that it is centered and really a little bit closer to the top of those 2 GemDuos. Then give that plenty of time to dry overnight if possible, so that that is very securely in place when you go to complete the next part of this process, which is just to finish this off with some beading around the back. So I haven't glued mine in yet, but you can just pretend that that is there. And coming out of the 11-0, we can pick up 7 of our 15-0s. And then sew down through the right hand mini GemDuo that's at the top, the hole that's closest to the center. That's gonna add a little strip of beads right there. And now go up through the adjacent hole on the next GemDuo on the left and pick up another 7 15-0s. And then sew back through the 11-0. And with that post already in place about right there, you can see we're starting to use some of our beadwork to tack that down too, and also cover up the back and make it look a little bit nicer. I'm going to slip this back out. And now we'll go up through the first 6 of those seed beads on the right side. We're going to add a few more beads back there. Let's pick up 4 more 15-0s. And then sew back up through just the last 4 that we had gone through. So it's just adding another little strip of beads right there. Then go down those 4 again. And count 3 15-0s up from the right side. 3, and go through the next one. So that 4th one is what you'll want to connect this to. So go up through that one as well as a few more. And you can continue sewing around your 15-0s again. Until you get to that 4th one from the bottom. And we'll go through one more. And at that point, we can pick up 4 more 15-0s. Those will be sitting right here. And we're just going to make the other side look the same. So we're going to go back down through those first 6 15-0s that are already in place in that strip right next to the post. Now skip the first 15-0 in that group that's next to the post, and then go through the next 4. Pull that tight, and go back up through that new strip of 4 once again. And now head up through that single 15-0 that's still back there above where we were. And once again, just pretending that post is in place, it'd be about right there. At this point, we can pick up 3 more 15-0s and then sew down through the single 15-0 on the other side that's opposite to that. I'm going to sew down through the first 15-0 on the right and then up through the 15-0 here on the left. And then to tighten up the center just a little bit more, pick up 1 15-0 and then skip that one on the very top. It's kind of hard to see, but just going in the opposite 15-0 from where we are. And then going down through the next 4 just brings those 2 strips together a little bit more. And then we'll pick up 1 more 15-0 and catch these 4 15-0s again on the right hand side and just cinching that up a little bit more right back there. So if I slip my finding in place, the back of your piece is going to look a little something like that. And then we can just keep sewing through these beads, tightening up any areas that might need it, and strengthening up the back. So it's a good time to check on your tension of your work and make sure everything is tight. And then you can sew back down, making your way towards the bottom of that little section. And I think I'm going to straighten up and tighten up these 11-0s a little bit more in this section that connects these. So I'll go around those. Then just weave your thread into your work a little bit more, and also make a couple of half-hitch knots and hide those along the way. I'll make an example one there, going under the thread bridge and through that loop, and then going through some more beads. And I'll start going through some of those 11-0s at the very back to finish my working thread there. And be sure to check the front of your beadwork at your crystal. And it's probably a good idea too to give that area right at the front of the crystal, going around those central 15-0 seed beads, once again to tighten that section up since we did not do that before. And once you've done that, you can trim off your excess thread. And that wraps it up for this tutorial, so you can just follow along again if you need to make your other one to complete your pair. I want to thank you all so much for joining me today, and once again, the link to the collection called Sun-Kissed Seashells, which has all these materials minus the findings and the tools, is linked right down below, as well as the full list of materials with quantities and links there too to everything individually. I also want to mention, if you wanted to finish these off without the post earring findings, you could simply not worry about adding any of the 15-0s to the very back, and just make a little loop of 15-0s at the very top that you can attach another type of ear wire to. Simple as that. So if you plan to give these a try, or if you have tried this out, please feel free to leave a comment down below. I always love to hear from you. Also, be sure to use that share button below to share the video with your other beading friends. Give the video a big thumbs up if you enjoyed it, and don't forget to subscribe while you're here because I'd love to have you back. And I've got a couple more Sun-Kissed Seashells designs to come. But that wraps it up for now. I hope to see you all again real soon, and until next time, I hope you have a fabulous rest of your day. And as always, happy beading!